really bothered me that I've done 7 Marvel movies now. Uh, I've every producer, every director, every stunt person, every costume designer, every PA, every single person has been white.
Mm-hmm.
We've had one black producer. His name was Nate Moore. He produced Black Panther. But then when you do Black Panther, you have a black director, black producer, you have a black costume designer, you have a black stunt choreographer, you have a black, and I'm like, that's more racist than
Hmm.
anything else. Because if you only can hire the black people for the black movie, are you saying they're not good enough when you have a mostly white cast?
Right. Right.
So my big push with Marvel, with everybody, is you know hire the best person for the job. If you look at it now, you know, there's no reason why you can't say, all right, well, I want, even if it means we're going to get the best 2 women, we're going to get the best 2 men, we're going to get the best 2 that, the best 2 this. Fine, I'm
Mm-hmm.
cool with those numbers for the next 10 years because
Mm-hmm.
it starts to build a new generation of people who can put something on their resume to get them other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
we got to divvy it as a percentage, divvy it out
Right.
at
I
least for
agree.
10 years. And that's something, as artists, as leading men, that we can go in and push for and push the envelope.
Welcome into issue 10 of Comicast Video. Jong Lee here.
Hey, with Michael Carroll.
You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at One Punch. You guys can see it on this side right there.
Oh, and you can see me at Producer Mike 975.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We talked about this on the podcast, on the audio version of the podcast, which you can find on every podcast platform, major podcast platform. There was a little bit of new news on this on the front of Ray Fisher and him, I guess, going back and saying stuff about Joss Whedon. He tweeted out, I think last week, about how he was going to retract everything that he said about Joss Whedon on the set of Justice League. And until we get further, I guess, information, because it seems like it's going to get muddled a lot over the next couple of weeks or whenever, if anything, if this gets any clearer. But he tweeted this morning that Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by Geoff Johns and Jon Berg. Accountability over entertainment. And it has people buzzing. And I know we talked about Ray Fisher and Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon on the audio version. Maybe we should have waited until we got more, I guess, detail. But we didn't know we were going to get more detail. We just got a retraction from Ray Fisher. So until, I guess, we get a clearer version of what exactly happened, there are rumors out there. I think one rumor that I saw was that the scene with Flash and Wonder Woman, where Flash is on top of Wonder Woman, I think they were protesting that scene, and this is just rumors. Apparently, they had a tussle with Gal Gadot and her stunt woman, and if that's the case, that's clearly not okay. And I mean, if stuff like that had happened on Justice League, I could completely take back everything I say about Joss Whedon. But until further stuff comes out, I guess we'll talk about that when it does resurface.
Yeah, initial thought was it was coming from getting the Snyder Cut released angle. Didn't realize there was issues behind the scenes. This was the first time I've heard of it. So, but if this is true, or as we get more information, that would, Joss Whedon, what were you doing? If that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it if more information comes out. But today we also wanted to get into this Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie appeared on Variety's Actors on Actors, which you saw at the beginning of this video. He sat down with Daveed Diggs, who is he was the star of TNT's show Snowpiercer, and they talked about diversity in Hollywood. And Anthony Mackie talked about how, when he was on the set of these Marvel projects, and I think he said he did about 7 of them before he agreed to do what's called Falcon and Winter Soldier. He said there wasn't really any black people on set or people of color, and he said everybody from the PAs to the costume designers to the makeup artists, all of that, everybody, producers, executives, everybody, they're all white. And he said it was weird because on the set, the first black producer that he met from Marvel was producing Black Panther. And he said costume designers, cast, director, everybody on set, PAs, everybody on set was black. And he said it was weird because if they're good enough to work on this Marvel project, why aren't they good enough to work on the rest of the Marvel project? And that was what he had problems with. He also said cast the best people for it, but if the best people, I guess, are people of color, why aren't you casting them? So he kind of want to see some equality, and if he wanted to do, he almost made it seem like he wanted to kind of do a Rooney Rule where he had this set for, you have to hire a couple people for this department and this department and this department. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from it was, and I didn't know why it took me this long to realize it, but if you start implanting those seeds now, 10 years from now, he says, these people have this Marvel project on their resume and they can get much better jobs 10 years from now or 5 years from now. And that's how you systematically in Hollywood shrink racism and include more people of color. And down the road where they're in a position of power, those people can start hiring more diverse set of people. So I thought it was a great, fantastic interview between the two of them. If you guys want to go check it out, it's on Variety.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of these actors on actors series. Like the big story from the other day was the Anne Hathaway, Hugh Jackman talk. But this one with Anthony Mackie, I thought was really, it was enlightening because while we do have with Marvel, it has become a little bit more diverse in terms of representation on screen. We forget about behind the scenes and who they're hiring for these roles and who their casting director, costume designers, all these people. And you wonder, is it like, I don't know, is it a case where people are just hiring within their circles and we're not getting more, we're not getting inclusion, we're not getting more diversity? While it's great what we're doing on screen, we need to do that on both sides of the camera. And so more people have a voice and have a say, and just so we get different viewpoints.
And I think that happens in almost every profession. And I know in the radio profession, me and you, we worked at, or I worked at Gal Media for 10 years. And you kind of, when you meet somebody and you get to know them, you automatically have, it's almost every business practice where until you meet that person, then you see how that person works and reacts and stuff like that. So you bring them under your wing, and then you start branching out your, I guess you would say, tree, and then you go somewhere and you want to take those people with you. And I think that is the case with a lot of Hollywood, and maybe some of it is systematic racism, and they just don't think about it, and they've been doing it for so long that it doesn't just come to their minds. And I don't think that every Hollywood executive is a racist, and I really don't. I just think they're comfortable in that setting, and maybe it's just maybe it's something like that, like you were saying, where you're just, you've been doing this for so long that you just don't realize that you're not including more people than you should. And I mean, I think for the most part, I think I and you did a good job of trying to branch out and try to be more diverse at Gal Media. And I mean, I for me, when I was doing it, I had a conscious decision. I made sure that I was conscious about making these hires and saying how many people are, I guess, white and people of color and women, in which we didn't get many females through the office, and the few that we got, they were fantastic. And I mean, I think that he just wants opportunity for those people, those minorities, and women. He said women. He said, get women in there too. We haven't really seen that many women there as well. So I'm all for his idea of trying to get at least some kind of plan set to where you're at least interviewing and hiring a few people of color and women.
The big thing is amplifying these voices, amplifying these opportunities for whoever it may, people of color, women, whoever it may be, amplifying those chances for them to have these opportunities and to continue to grow as an industry, because obviously it's one way right now, but it needs to grow and get better, and it's not going to be fixed in the next year or so, but with time, hopefully it can be reflected with more diversity behind the camera. I feel like we just don't realize it, because obviously we're just focused on the on-screen product, but we don't realize just the amount of people behind the scenes that are doing, so much. But it's probably like a white boys club, if you will, and that should change. That needs to change, and it shouldn't just be for the black movie. It shouldn't just be for Black Panther. It should be for all movies.
Yeah, and with Shang-Chi, I just don't want all eight. I mean, it'd be cool to get just a whole Asian cast and crew and all that, but yeah, like Anthony Mackie says, if they're good enough to do this movie, why can't they be good enough to work on WandaVision or
Right.
Falcon and Winter Soldier or Doctor Strange or the next Avengers movie? Why do you have to go with an all? And I said it again, and I'll say it again. I don't think Kevin Feige and the executives have that in mind. I think they just decide to pick a director, and the director and the producer decide to hire all these cast and crew. So, and putting it out in the forefront of all these executives' minds, I think will lead to a good, healthy change over the next decade.
But you do need to put in the work to, you can't just expect to find voices. You have to put in work to get those new voices and to scout out new talent. It's like you were saying, like with radio, I feel like it's just a lot of times we just take whoever we know. And sometimes you need to go out and do some research and maybe train a bit more, or whatever you need to do to amplify and find other voices out there. Because if you don't, you're just going to settle into your normal ways and not really find those new voices.
Yeah, and I don't want to take. And I think this is what he was saying when he was talking about this. If there's two even people and they're both are white and a person of color, I think that's what he means. Like, oh, they're automatically going to select the white guy. No. I want them to look at their resumes and make sure that they're both equally qualified. And then if you want to talk about diversity, then you go and you hire the person of color. He's right. You should hire the best person for the job. But these movies need a diverse set of people, because sometimes if you have let's say you have a black producer on Shang-Chi, he can offer a perspective that, they may have missed, right? And same could be said for Black Panther 2. If you decided to hire a woman, they may have a different perspective than a Ryan Coogler. So it's those are the opportunities that I think people are missing when you don't diversify your movies.
Yeah, I shouldn't be writing a story that if I don't have experience, if I'm not like a African American or a Latinx or whatever, background, I should probably seek out those people to get those perspectives and collaborate and work with them. It shouldn't just be a bunch of white people. Mm-hmm. It just should not.
Which I think Marvel did get it right when they did go out and do Black Panther. They hired a black director, which applaud them for that. And with Warner Brothers, they hired Patty Jenkins to do Wonder Woman. And so those tiny, I guess they're big steps. Those steps, because they're big blockbuster movies, they're the right steps. But don't put them in that box.
Yep.
Let Patty Jenkins direct Superman. Let Ryan Coogler direct an X-Men movie. It's when you start putting those people in those roles where, oh yeah, you're only directing a movie that includes black people, or you're only directing a movie that is just all women. So mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It should be a mixture. I mean, that's what we're all hoping for. It should be a mixture because when you get different perspectives and different voices, the doors can be open to so many possibilities, and so much more can be done. And then just, I don't know, there's so much that could be done better.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, well, I hope Marvel is taking notes with it and doing more in terms of behind the scenes and looking at like, oh, snap, he's right. We haven't been doing this. Because, like you said, they may not be racist. It's just maybe something. It's a subconscious thing sometimes that some specifically white people, some subconscious things that just white people don't think about. And then it takes that pointing out and being like, oh, you know what? He's right. Maybe I need to really analyze what I'm doing. I think for most of us right now, especially of what we're doing in this climate, in this world, specifically white people, we got to look at what we've been doing because it's like, oh, dang, I didn't even realize just what I was thinking in that, and and excluding and possibly, and just things like that.
So that has been issue 10 of Comicast Video. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have any comments or if you decide you don't agree with us, be nice about it and explain why you don't agree with us. And also hit that subscribe button if you like what you hear.
Yeah, hit it. Slap that bell.
Yep, ding, 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 ding.
Oh, I stole your thing.
You can always follow us on Twitter. I'm at One Punch.
I'm at Producer Mike 975.
And you can tune into our audio version of the podcast on every major podcast platform. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, I edited that out. It was pretty bad. Until next time.
See ya. Every.